There it is.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Good
My
morning.
name is Masha Golchenko, for those of you who don't know me, or haven't seen me at least. Most of you should know my name at least. Today, our SASSC tips session is going to be focusing on travel, but specifically on the USF guest travel. The reason being is the employee travel is still being finalized, so we can't really talk about it. There are some changes that are coming. So once everything's been finalized with the SALT and the E team, then we'll have another session in July going over the employee travel itself. So this is pertaining to the USF guests. So how do I define USF guests? It's any person traveling on the USF's dime that is not employed by university. So it includes the candidates, it includes any speakers, it includes the actual guests of the student fairs that come here to do professional development of a sort or something like that. Includes contractors that might do the work that the travel is not part of their contract and be paying them separately. So anybody who's not actually employed by university is falling under this category. Okay? So the paperwork, you guys all picked up the actual forms themselves as a sample. This is a new and improved form about that we have done. This is the top portion of the form, and I filled it out for you. We asked for the department, and I know there's no department of organizations on this campus, so these are all made up. So when you ask for the department, if this is an employee candidate, we have to have a position number, the title of this person, and then who is it that they're going to be reporting to. Whichever guest it is, whether it's a job candidate or is this just a speaker. For speakers, I would recommend it to be somebody like the department director, be the HR supervisor, because in the system, when we set up the profiles for them, there has to be a person approving their travel in the system. So that person needs to have fast access, needs to have approver access. So most of the directors do have that. So I would recommend for speakers to have that be a director of the department. For the job candidates, it probably should be the person who's actually going to be supervising them once they get hired. That way it helps in further processing of their candidacy. If they do get hired, then there's not much of a switch over to be done from HR supervisor to the HR supervisor. So we do need to know who the approver is going to be. We need to know their contact information. We need to know their home address, the PO address. PO box does not work. Checks do not go to the PO boxes. We need to have their phone number and the email address. And we need to know what is it they're going to be doing here on campus. Not that we're nosy, but for the auditing purposes for the most part. So if it's a candidate coming in, you can attach their itinerary as to what their interview is going to look like. And I did a sample as to what some of the itineraries might look like. Okay? And then the bottom portion of the form, we go through the estimated trip cost that you need to find on Orbitz for Business. Effective April 2014, the university has signed a contract with Orbitz for Business. Yay. So all the bookings that the university is paying for has to be processed through there. Estimate, look up the airfare on there. If there's any, look up the hotel costs and put the information on here. With the airfare, I would not encourage you to put the lowest one that you can find. Put an average of your results, because from the time that you look it up the first time to the time you actually get the TAR approved and actually go ahead and do the booking, the airfare has spiked up. And I don't want you to be in a situation where you've been approved for $500, but the airfare comes out to be $700 because you're booking a week before. And just estimate the average and put that on there, not estimate on the low. Okay? And then the chart field information, if you do have it, if you do not have it, submit it to your business office, and they will get that information to you, and then submit the form to further down for the processing. Then we need to have the director signature and then the ADP level signature on there. Okay? The date of birth, we have to have a full date of birth for all of these travelers for the reasons of setting up the profiles for that. If they're traveling using the airfare, we will have to get that information anyways as a TSA requirement. So because of the Orbitz for Business setup, and because this is the only identifier that we can use, we cannot get their social security number before they actually get hired if we're talking about job candidates. This is the only identifier we have to go on to be able to set up their profile, to make sure that we do not have them in the system already. If they've been a student here before, or they've been contracted by some other department on campus before. So that's the piece of information that we absolutely have to have. And in conversations with the E-team, it has been agreed upon that SASSC Travel will obtain dates of birth for all of the guests. So you will get the top portion filled out and then submit the form to us, and then SASSC Travel will reach out to whoever this guest is and get the date of birth so that it's maintained centrally. And if we are talking about candidates, then there's not a concern about the person who's actually going to be part of the hiring committee has that information as that is becoming illegal. Okay, any questions on the form? Okay, then we'll come to the statement of reimbursement cap. This form I strongly encourage you guys to use when you're talking about candidates. This statement says that this is what university has agreed to pay for me to come here to USF for whatever reason. I'm coming here to USF, either by the amount, which is here, or you can just indicate which particular types of expenses you guys are covering. Because we had situations where the candidate came here on campus, we've done an expense report for them based on the receipts that have been submitted to us, and then a month from then, a candidate submits their baggage claim receipt, their toll receipts, their parking receipts, and we're saying, well, we didn't agree to pay this. But if there's no statement like this on file, we kind of have to pay them. So please make sure that you have this, and you have this before the travel actually happens. The traveler needs to sign it, and they need to date it, and these dates have to be prior to the travel beginning. And then the department director has to sign it too. Okay, I know housing likes to use these, and I appreciate that. So if we can get these forms used more and more, that will eliminate some of the problems on the back end with you guys too. I don't want candidates coming back with something that you guys didn't agree on paying in the first place. Any questions? Okay.
Oh, just one.
Yeah.
Where it says meals and then it's got parentheses, not provided by USF as part of the visit. That's a little confusing.
Thank you. I know when we're talking about candidates, when we're talking about guests, they're being taken out for lunches as part of their visit. They're being taken out to dinners. Those are not part of their reimbursement. Those are not part of their travel, because those are typically being paid by university in one way or the other, be it by P-card or some other ways of payment. And those are not reimbursable to the traveler just because they're not paying for it. Unless you guys are all going out to lunch and everybody's paying for their own lunch, only in that case will this traveler be eligible for the actual reimbursement of the meal. If the traveler is being taken out to the meal for lunch, for dinner, or whatever else the case may be, then they haven't actually paid for it. So there's nothing for us to get them reimbursed. Because the meal reimbursement works on a per diem basis, and it's $6 for breakfast, $11 for lunch, and $19 for dinner, no matter what it is that they actually pay for it. If the candidate or the guest has not paid for that meal, there's no reason that university should be reimbursing them for it. Yes.
So Masha, recently we had a candidate on campus, and I remember the search committee head saying this individual is going to be on their own for dinner tonight. So on your own for dinner tonight would be obviously that this person went out and had dinner elsewhere. Would that normally be a reimbursable?
Yes.
Okay.
If the guest has paid for their own meal, that is a reimbursable expense. So from the start that they begin from the start of their travel, let's say they leave at 11 o'clock in the morning, and then they come here and they don't go, the dinner is on their own, the lunch is on their own, and then the first meal that university actually provides for them, where they're being taken out for breakfast, let's say, they will be eligible for the lunch and they will be eligible for the dinner for that first day of their travel. So they are eligible for meal reimbursements. They're not eligible for the meals that university already pays for them.
So
directly.
just because I'm probably slow on this. So I understand what you're saying, but I'm still not sure how to mark that. So by marking meals, I'm saying they're getting meals, but it's not gonna be reimbursed, the department is paying for it. Is that what I'm saying by marking that?
No, if you do put the amount or marking it here,
Uh-huh.
you're telling us that whatever is not included as a meal on the itinerary that university has taken that candidate out,
Uh-huh.
we will put in their expense report
Oh,
and they
okay.
will get a reimbursement for.
Gotcha.
Yes,
What if we have candidates coming down and they're gonna have dinner on their own, but they're actually going to a family member or whatever, to their home, to have a meal?
if you indicate to us that we are to pay the meals, we will include the meals in there. And we don't know, I mean,
So would you need a receipt to back that up?
no, we do not
Would
need
not?
receipts
Okay.
because of the per diem amount in
Okay.
the Florida statutes. So we will get them $19 for that dinner, whether they paid for it or they didn't pay for it. If you're telling us that the meals will be provided for or paid for them, reimbursed for them, we will get that dinner into the expense report. So that's why I say that it's good to indicate as to what's provided and what's not. Yes.
So when you say indicate, so if we are paying for their airfare and their lodging, for sure, then we check that off, but we're acknowledging that we are paying for it, because then they wouldn't be getting reimbursed if we're paying for the full.
Correct. Yeah, the
I guess
confusion
that's-
is with the meals. The meals being the problem is because by Florida statutes, we get as employee travels, as guests of the university, we get the reimbursement of $36 per day. It's a flat per diem amount, okay? So based on that flat per diem amount, we split it out between breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If university provides or pays directly for any of those meals, there's no reason for the candidate to get reimbursed for that meal because they didn't pay for it. Kind of think about it, if you were to go on a conference and part of your registration that you paid includes lunches during those 3 days of a conference, those lunches you do not get reimbursed back to you. Make sense? That's not part of your expense really, because the conference bear that cost already and you paid for it with your registration. We do not have a registration here with the guests, but university bears that cost directly by bringing them here. So yes, we are bearing the cost directly with paying for their airfare and their lodging, but because we do it with the P cards and it has to be attached to that traveler's expense report, that it's gonna be all part of the expense report. If you take them out to lunch and you pay with a P card, that's not gonna be part of the expense report because there's no way for us to pull P card charges for meals into expense reports because that's against the law.
So then we would, because you have those two checked, but you don't have meals checked. So in this case, what would be the end result of this?
The end
example?
result, the expense report will only have the airfare and the lodging and that's it.
And
So
then
there will
no
be
reimbursement
no
will be-
reimbursement for this particular candidate. Yes.
So basically what it is we're checking off if they paid for it, right?
No,
No?
you're checking off what university is gonna pay for relative to their travel. But concerning meals, if you are actually taking them out for lunch or for dinner or for breakfast and the department is bearing that cost directly where they get their card out or the director pays with their own credit card and whatever else the case may be, if that's the case, do not include those meals on here.
I would imagine attaching a copy of the schedule, showing the breakdown of what you're doing with the meals, with that will help both sides to know
Yes, it will.
how it's being paid.
Mhm.
Okay.
But if you do indicate meals on here, then we'll definitely look on the schedule to make sure as to what has been provided by university and what hasn't been provided by
Okay.
university, and include that as part of the expense report. Any more questions? All right, so when the travel paperwork has been filled out, it gets submitted to the SASSC travel office. And then we obtain the date of birth for the guest, as I talked about, because we do have to have that piece of information for the identification purposes. Then we send out all this information to the central travel office, and they set up the profile for this person who's traveling. When they come back and say that the profile has been created, we make the assignments because part of the Form 2, let me go back. Part of the Form 2 now is, we asking us to put the name of the person who's going to be booking in Orbis for Business. You have to be set up as a travel arranger in Orbis for Business in order to be booking for somebody other than yourself. And I have the forms in the back that you all got. If you have not been set up as a travel arranger, if I haven't reached out to you to be set up as a travel arranger, please fill out that form and let me know. If you're going to be arranging travel for somebody other than yourself. Okay? And so we will set up you to have access as a travel arranger for that department, to have access to that particular guest that's traveling. And then we'll let you know what the tour number is and that you're good to go. Okay, that you can go ahead and book the travel. In order to book in Orbis for Business, you need to have a travel authorization number. When we submit the travel authorization in the system, it needs to go through the proper approvals, one of them being the HR supervisor that I talked about in the beginning. That person has to be on campus, not on vacation. So not at a conference or anything else. So please think carefully when you put those people as approvers in the system. And especially if we're talking about candidates coming in and this position reports to, let's say, Todd. Todd better be on campus to be able to approve this travel. Or we need to know about the fact that Todd is going to be out for a week so that we can file paperwork to escalate it to the next level to get the approval still in the system so that we have a fully approved TAR and we can actually book. Okay, any questions? All right. And then the travel department arranger can go ahead and do the actual booking in Orbis for Business from that point on. Okay? When you're booking travel, these are some of the rules. I'm going to go over Orbis for Business a little bit later, so just bear with me. So make sure that the preferred and more legroom airline seating and early check-ins are not being selected. Orbis for Business will typically not allow you to do that in the first place, but please make sure that those are not added on and not added on your P cards if you are the travel arranger, because those are considered to be personal expenses and not reimbursable by university. Hotel reservations through Orbis for Business will require a follow-up with the hotel with a credit card authorization, unless the candidate or the guest paying for the hotel themselves. So you will make the reservation through Orbis for Business, and most of the hotels in the vicinity have been reached out to load the actual rates that they provide to university into Orbis for Business. They're still working on some of them, so if you're working with a specific hotel and you get a specific rate that is lower than what shows up for that hotel in Orbis for Business and you still want to use that hotel, you can go ahead and book for the hotel directly, but please let us know what that hotel name is and what your contact information, contact in that hotel is, and the rate, so that we can load it into Orbis for Business for future use, okay? But most of the hotels in the area have been reached out to, and most of them have been uploaded with the correct rates in there. What we also found that some of the hotels would provide different rates to one department and different rates to the other. So we have tried to consolidate it with them and say, well, this is your best rate that we've seen. Why don't you provide it to the university as a whole? They have negotiated with some of the hotel properties that are nearby, and by virtue of them loading the rates in here, we actually get those lower rates over in Georgia and in North Carolina, so, or on all of their properties across the state. So using Orbis for Business actually helps a lot. But you will need to follow up if you're paying with a P card for that hotel, and that concerns with the employee travels too. If that employee who travels does not have their own P card to check out of the hotel with, and the travel arranger is paying for their lodging, you will need to call the hotel and file the credit card authorization form with them to make sure that they charge your card. Okay. And for rental cars, it is Wizard number. You have to have a Wizard number in order to pay for somebody's rental. Again, if they're not there with the card, if you're not there with them at the checkout counter with your P card, you need to have a Wizard number in order to be able to pay for that reservation. Okay? And And then the personal travel can be added to the candidates because we are in the prime location of Busch Gardens and Disney and everything else. So they can add on their vacation to their time if they come here for the vacations. But make sure that before you process any of the booking for them, and that if that's the case, you contact us and we'll let you know what additional steps you need to take. Okay? All right. So while they're here, all receipts need to be collected, whether it's you collecting the receipts or them collecting the receipts, and then they need to be turned over to SASSC travel office. We'll sort through them, we'll figure out what's needed, what's not needed, where there are some mistakes might be. Make sure that the hotel does not charge you any tax because the university is tax exempt in the state of Florida. So if they did charge you the tax, make sure you file a claim with them so they can reimburse you the tax back. If you have an issue with that, please let me know and I'll, again, guide you through the process of what to do to get that tax back. And if you are taking the candidate or the guest out for a lunch or for a dinner, please check with the VP of Student Affairs office first to get the approval for that and what the rules and restrictions are about that. Okay? Any questions? Good. All right. So after the trip, all the receipts are submitted to the SASSC travel office. We will go ahead and prepare the expense report and send that expense report to the travel arranger in that department. And then you guys look over it, make sure that we haven't missed anything, make sure that everything that you intended to be on there is there. And then you send it to the actual guest to get their signature on it. Now, that's where they typically come back and say, I want you to pay for my luggage, I want to pay you to pay for my parking, and anything else, and you say, oop, I have a statement, can't do that. And then once we get that receipts package signed, or that expense report signed, we submit the receipts package to the central travel office, and any concerns that the auditors have, we'll respond to make sure that it processes as smoothly as possible. So if there's any issues and concerns about how long it takes to process an expense report, please contact us. Please do not contact the central travel office. We have established a pretty nice relationship with them that we absolutely love, and they respond to our phone calls, and I want to keep it that way. So if you call us, we know what to say to them to get things processed in the way it needs to be processed. But please make sure that you know that it takes up to 6 weeks to process the expense report. Sometimes it takes time. They audit these things for the entire university system, so it's a lot. Okay, so Orbits for Business. Effective April 2014, USF has a contract. It's the same contract as Office Depot in a way in the USF computer store, where you cannot book the travel anywhere else outside of the Orbits for Business unless you have a special permission beforehand. Okay? The same thing with Office Depot. You cannot buy your office supplies anywhere else other than Office Depot. So in order to book for Orbits for Business for someone other than yourself, you have to be set up as travel arranger. And I do have forms out there. I have reached out to most of the people that I know will be booking on campus or people within their departments. So we have set up a lot of travel arrangers already. If I have not reached out to you and you will need to book travel for some people other than yourself, please let me know and we'll get you set up. Okay? Local hotels within USF vicinity have been loaded in Orbits for Business, and airfare in Orbits for Business, the rates should be the same as anywhere else you would find. It's all in how you perform the search. The only difference is the $5 booking fee. Regular Orbits charges $7 booking fee, so we get a discount on it. It's $5 per ticket. Is it per ticket or ticket? Per ticket. So that should be the only difference in airfare, and the reason we're paying that $5 booking fee, it helps university as a whole with the reporting, it helps them as a whole with monitoring. So if there's an earthquake in San Francisco, we can easily pull up who we have in San Francisco, alert their families, alert their departments to make sure that everything's okay. Okay? Alright, so Orbits for Business. When you get to this page of Orbits for Business USF, partnership. make sure you pay attention to this little spot here as to what the traveler name is. Because when you first log in, it's gonna be your name. So if you are arranging for somebody other than yourself, like we're talking about USF guests, you need to click on the change traveler and change that. You have to use select from my traveler list option, okay? That's the only option you can really go with. And then if you do not see the person that you are booking for on this list, and my list is pretty big, your list is not that big. So if you do not see the people that you need to book for on here, please make sure that you let me know so that we can add those people on. It might be that their profiles haven't been created yet, so they're not in here. By selecting the name from here, you are assigning the travel to them rather than the travel keeping under your profile, okay? It helps in the long run finding these receipts and all these nice little things for the reports, okay? And so you will find whoever you're booking for on the list and click change. And then it will change at the top as to who it is that you're actually dealing with, who it is that you're booking for, okay? When you're doing the search for airfare, pay attention to these little boxes over here as to the nearby airports, especially when people are in the case of guests they're traveling from. Southwest and some of the other airlines fly only into specific airports. So when you call me up and say Southwest does not come up on here, I know that something's wrong with the search because Southwest does come up on this result. It might be that you just typed in specific airport in here, didn't click this button, so the Southwest airport did not show up. I'm not saying Southwest has a specific their own airports, but the vicinity airports, like in Washington, they only fly to Reagan. But if you did not include Reagan into your search by clicking this button, it will not come up, okay? So pay attention to those little buttons when you're doing the airfare search. And the next thing you need to pay attention to is to these times. The way the Orbis for Business is set up, it searches for, if you just leave this as any, as far as the time is concerned, I mean, you'll put in the dates, but the time, if you leave it as any, it will come up with a slew of results for you, where they leave at 5 o'clock in the morning, or they arrive here at 12 o'clock at midnight, or whatever else the case may be. That will be the lowest, cheapest fare. So if you pick something else on that list, you will have most likely to provide a reason as to why you're not selecting the lowest fare. You don't want to do that. So if you have specific requirements as to when is it that this person has to arrive here to be here in Tampa, and when is it they have to either leave here in Tampa or they have to be back home, please put that time in. And they also have a range in here for like 4 hours or something. Do not use that on either. Use specific time. They will do a search. They will return your search for a 2-hour period within that hour that you selected there on the way here and on the way back. So it restricts the results. It shrinks the results. So that 5 o'clock in the morning airfare might not even come up anymore. So it's not the lowest fare anymore for you. Okay? We're good with that? All right. So make sure you choose these boxes. And if you do not care when is it they arrive, then by all means use the any time, and then they can fly here at 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay? All right. So when you do the hotel search, it first comes to the preferred hotels tab, okay? And then it lists the preferred hotels. In Florida, see here, so it says University of South Florida preferred hotels. In Florida, these will be only the University of South Florida preferred hotels. Anywhere else in the States, the Orbis for Business has preferred hotels as well. Those are prepaid hotels. University of South Florida hotels are not prepaid, or might not be. It depends. You have to look. Yes?
I know when I booked directly with La Quinta, it's $69 per night, and that shows $89. So in that case,
well, it might be because of the dates too, but
okay.
That's where it comes back to. I need to have your contact in La Quinta and what the rate you guys are paying, so that we can reach out to them and get the lower rate. Because again, some of the hotels have different rate for you and then different rate for another department, and we want to consolidate it into one for the university. If you do not find the hotel that you're looking for on this list of the preferred, you can go onto all hotels tab, and there is a much bigger result on there. I know Sharon and I went through the exercise of when there was a big list of results and we couldn't find the hotel that specifically she was looking for, a conference hotel in Orlando. So I started typing in the name in here and then clicked search, and it found me that hotel. It actually found a rate cheaper than the conference rate was, $2 and something. You do not get charged booking fee for hotels or the rental cars, only for the airfare. So don't worry about booking for Orbis for Business or hotels. You do not get charged booking fee for it. All right. For the rental vehicles, Avis and Enterprise are the preferred vehicles. Enterprise you can rent only in the state of Florida. So if you're picking up and dropping off in the state of Florida, but going anywhere else is fine, as long as your pickup and the drop-off is in the state of Florida. That's the university contract, and those are the correct rates for them. And then Avis is across the country vendor that we have the state contract with. And the rates are correct. We checked. Any questions? Yes?
On here, it mentions about the tolls. I've put the toll device in the glove compartment, and many of the tolls are turning into automated tolls, and so that car is automatically going to get charged regardless. There is no place to pay cash. So what is the solution?
Yeah, we have to address that with the Central Travel Office to see what, where, and how, because when Avis charges the tolls, they add their administrative fees on it. So by the time that fee comes to us as a bill, that fee comes from $2 to $12. So, and we're not big on paying the administrative fees to begin with. So it will be a conversation between the Central Travel Office and the Avis contract to make sure that we're dealing with this appropriately. But yeah, that was kind of old, and I know that on veterans they are switching to something completely.
And the same if you're traveling to Miami and some areas in Orlando, like it's all turned to automated toll.
I will get back to you on that one, because
Okay.
that's something new going, so we just need to figure out how we're going to deal with this in the university as a whole. Any more questions? Well, I also have a handout. All right, so I went through the travel website and got some of the handouts as far as frequently asked questions about Orbis for Business, because it's new. So I gave you those. They constantly update this file, so make sure that you know where to find it on the website, because they do constantly update it as we're moving along with this new system. So the Travel Ranger request form that I talked about, if you are not set up as a Travel Ranger, please fill this form out and let me know, and we'll set this up for you. Then I found this Orbis for Business Quick Start Reference Guide for the Travel Rangers. So if you ever wanted this, yeah, I thought it was very helpful. It kind of goes through the steps that I was going through with changing your travelers and all of that nice stuff. And let's see. Oh, and the other thing that I've done was one piece of paper that deals with, or points out some of the policies from the travel manual. I just literally went and cut and paste from the travel manual that might be relative to the guests of the USF. So it talks about lodging. Bear in mind that if the candidate lives within 50-mile radius of the University Tampa campus, then you need to have justification for them to actually have a hotel room, because lodging within 50-mile radius is not allowed. For the airfare, I mentioned that the selection fees for the seat upgrades and everything else is not reimbursable. Yeah, I think that's it. Yes.
Would you recommend that before a person, especially since we're all new, before we go in and book any travel, whether it's for ourselves or somebody else, we go in and make sure that the profile and the billing is set up correctly in the beginning? You know what I mean? Or is that already all set up for everybody?
The profiles should be set up. The only things that are not set up in profiles that now the system allows you to do is if there's, you have, well, I don't know what they call them, preferred numbers with the airlines, or frequent flyer miles, or something with the hotel. Specific numbers that are specific to you, you can actually add those to the profile. So that whoever's traveling and the travel arranger is using, you're using travel arranger to make the arrangements, they actually use that number for you to get whatever points and miles and whatever else the case may be. So the profiles should be set up. It's a good idea to go in and check to make sure that information there is correct.
I know I helped somebody yesterday. I showed him the system and because he wanted to book his own travel. And when we went into his P card information was not loaded.
Yeah,
so
the
he had to
P-card
manually
information
put that
is
in.
not there, and I would actually not recommend travelers put their P-card information in there. Only the travel arrangers can put their P-card information
Not
in
that,
there.
okay.
The reason being is, remember there is a rule that you cannot use other people's P-cards.
Right,
Okay, you're only supposed to use your own.
right.
So if you load your P-card information into your profile and your travel arranger books for you, and they used your P-card information, it becomes very apparent now that somebody else used your P-card.
No, I'm not
Whether
saying
you have permission to do it.
exchange. He booked his own.
No, I understand what
Yeah.
you're saying, I absolutely understand that. But by saving it there, the travel arranger might go and do a mistake of using their card information rather than the travel
Oh, I see what
arranger's
you're
card.
saying.
So now it's all very apparent to the controller's office that you are using somebody else's P-card. And the same thing is, as a travel arranger, you should have your own card, and you should book with your own card only. So if you do not have a card, you need to contact the business office and your director to make sure that you have the card. You cannot, let me think of an example. So Tammy cannot book for Jessica Morgan travel using Gary's card. Because, I mean, now we're coming to this whole box of, okay, well, this is not a mistake. She literally used somebody else's P card.
Yeah, but it doesn't show the P card information when you use it because it's, you know what I mean, it's locked in, so I wouldn't see it. I'm just throwing
and
that
they're
out
going
there.
back and forth with that one.
Yeah.
Controllers still making up their mind whether that's okay or not, when you use the business card from somebody else's profile to do that. But for, yeah, I would not do it. I really wouldn't.
So I need to go back and tell him to take his P card info out, and I would put mine in?
No. You would put yours in under your profile, not under his.
Okay.
You can put as a travel arranger, you could put your card information in there, in your profile,
Right,
as a travel arranger only.
right.
Because when you're booking, you should be using your card. Let's face it, you as a travel arranger will be doing way more booking than just this one traveler.
But,
she
but
would be-
what, I'm in a big department, we got a lot of people. But what if we're going to allow our directors, you know, they'll do the paperwork and then once it's all approved, they can go in and book their own airfare, hotel, etc. Wouldn't we want it set up that way?
I mean, they can add their P card information in there. But I'm just saying that if the travel arranger makes a mistake of using their P card to book the travel by virtue of using that business card on their profile, it becomes very apparent that they use somebody else's card.
So then they'd be using, in this example that you gave, so Tammy would enter her P card even though she's not the one traveling?
Correct.
But it won't be charged to her P card.
It will.
That kind
What
of
do you
doesn't make sense. I would think that you would want the P card charges tied to the traveler who's
traveler.
actually traveling.
Well, that's
Because
not
they use
always
it at the
happening that
hotel.
way.
Huh?
That not always happening that way.
In my world, it has been.
Well,
I guess I'm spoiled.
The thing is, with the airfare, so if you're booking the airfare for them, right? The airfare charge comes right there on the spot, right?
Right?
So if you're using their card, you're using their card, which you're not supposed to.
Oh, I
It's only
understand
them who are supposed to use their card.
Yeah.
So for the airfare, the charge that happens right there on the spot, you're supposed to use your card if you're the one booking this travel. Okay, we can reassign this further down the road to that particular traveler, and it's gonna be lined up just fine with that travel, with that person. But to protect yourself, you as travel arranger need to be using your own P card. When you're booking the hotel, In Orbis for Business, you're literally just making the reservation with the card information behind it. When the traveler gets there to the hotel and they're checking out, if they wish and they have a P card, by all means, they can pay with their own P card at that spot.
Well, in my department, how it's been, I've only ever booked for my boss. Everybody else has done their own thing. So
Mhm.
that's where I'm coming from.
Right, so I'm going through the scenarios of
Yeah.
different bookings. So if you book for your boss,
Right.
the hotel, and she gets to the hotel, because you're only making a reservation in Orbis for Business unless you get the prepaid fare. When she gets there to the hotel, she has to have a card on her to be able to check out of the hotel. So she can pay with her own P card, by all means. If you want your card to be charged, you actually make that reservation, you need to follow through with the hotel to make to file that credit card authorization with them, okay? That authorizes the hotel to use your card for her reservation. You've done this, not your boss. So far, we haven't violated any of the policies in this point in time. But if you book the airfare for that right on the spot charge with her card under your profile, it makes it very apparent that you used somebody else's P card.
So it's all about not using anybody else's P
Correct.
card.
I'm just trying to protect you guys in the long run. Yeah.
It references the moving expenses here, and the dates and mileage. Do you have a list of what, is there a maximum? Is it situational or positional? Is there a different amount of money that is allotted? And how
I'll
does
let
that?
Jennifer answer that.
Yes, and that is in that recruitment guideline book. In fact, some of the questions that you have asked are in that recruitment guideline book that we've recently completed. And if any of you would like to have a copy of it, because we did distribute it to the directors, let me know and I will send it to you. But yes, there are certain amounts for the coordinator level, assistant director or associate director, AVP, moving expenses, and of course we have USF preferred vendors, so there are some policies surrounding moving. And that is spelled out, as well as some information regarding how many people you can take to lunch and dinner. Some of that information is addressed as well. So again, if any of you would like a copy, please send me an email and I will send it to you electronically. There's a lot of information about recruitment all the way through in that book, so that might be helpful to you as well.
Jennifer, thank you. Is there also, no, I lost the question. Is it mandatory to use it, and then if it's coming out of your budget, is it a mandate to provide it, or is it basically?
Living expenses? No, it's not mandated. No, absolutely not. You find it mostly in your higher level positions, primarily if you're moving in, a director level or AVP, you would pretty much always see it. The coordinator level is the lowest level that we would allow moving expenses, and we don't see a lot of moving expenses on the coordinator level, but it is allowable. It is allowable.
Thank you.
And it does come out of your budget.
And if you
So
have
if you don't have the budget, that shouldn't be
Right.
part of the offer.
And it would be put in the offer letter as well. We have to put it in the offer letter.
Anything else I can answer for you? Well, thank you all for coming. Thank you for your time. I hope this was helpful.
Yes, it was.
You're right.